I'm about to be live. There we are. Good evening. All right. Good evening, everyone. This is Tanysha Carroll, and I am so grateful to be here again with I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray, sounds from the Black church from years gone by. It is our complete honor and our we are really excited to share this conversation with you. So, if you are viewing this conversation, what I would love for you to do is go ahead and share it on your social media pages, invite someone into the room and join the conversation, because it's not just about what we have to say, but tell me, we want to know about your experience, what questions you might have, and hopefully we might be able to answer them tonight. Again, I am Tanysha Carroll, and I am here moderating this very important conversation with our visionary, Miss Vivian Carroll. And I want to just give you, Vivian, opportunity to just welcome people in and before I introduce our panelists tonight.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. We are again excited to be here tonight. This is our fourth conversation about music in the African American church. And we have a panel today that Tanisha is going to introduce to you that is going to pour into you out of many years of experience. And in fact, I think there's some generational things going on in the room today. But we are appreciative to share with you. Thank you for tuning in. Again, please like and share so we can reach and hopefully impact and influence others with this very needed conversation. Thank you so much.
All right, all right. The reason, so to begin, the reason that we're here is because of a book called I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray. And this book has been written by Vivian Carroll. It was released in December. And this book is about the sounds of the Black church. And one of the major sounds that comes out of the Black church is the sound of music. It's music. And so this book is sharing some very important insights into how we grew up, what it was like for those who have grown up in the church and grown up in the music departments, which were such a huge part of the church, and how it has impacted their lives now, how has impacted the lives of people around them, and just what it has been like to have these experiences. And so we have some wonderful panelists tonight. I am going to give like a super short snippet, and then I'm going to let them really introduce themselves and just kind of tell what they really want you to know about them. So I'm going to start with Reverend Mark Ribbins. And so he is the pastor of Avon Avenue Baptist Church in the city of Cleveland. And he comes from a huge legacy of owning his family owning the Ribbins bookstore in Cleveland, Ohio, and has a huge impact in the radio and broadcasting world with his radio show. And graduated from Cleveland State University with a broadcasting and communications, I should say, degree. And so we want to welcome you to our conversation. I want to give you the opportunity to just share whatever else that you might want to share, and also to answer the question for me. What was it? What is the impact that the church and the music of the church that has had on you?
Ooh. Okay, lots of ground to cover. So, Tanisha, thank you so much, and Sister Vivian, thank you for the invitation. Um, wow, you covered just about everything. So I just would have to double dip on the fact that a family business that started really with my grandfather, and then to my dad and my mom, really poured into me over decades. The importance of not just gospel music, but music for worship.
Mm.
So incorporating um, European classic gospel music and uh, spirituals from the Southland, as our people came over against our own will to be brought in, yet bringing the Lord with us and bringing the songs of our people. And then even into the Thomas Dorsey era when uh, gospel music began to change. And right with every iteration down the line, that was poured into me as a youth. And so the music of the church and gospel music are very much a part of who I am and how I approach any portion of my life.
Awesome, awesome. I love it. I love it. We're so grateful for the people who've poured into us to help us be, who we are and to become even more of what we're supposed to be. So I want to also introduce um, Mr. Ronald Baltimore, who is on staff at St. Luke's and has been there since 2022 and a part of the Westminster College Choir College, which he graduated from. And I think, is it that you're from the New Jersey area? Is that correct? And
Yes, ma'am.
I want okay, okay. And so I want you to tell us a little bit more. First of all, I want to say that he is educated and has studied organ, voice, and harpsichord. I really wanted to say that because it's such a unique thing, in particularly among people of color. And so, but I love the sound of the harpsichord.
I
So
do too.
tell us a little bit more about yourself, Ronald.
Well, good evening to you all, and thank you for hosting this. This is really a needed thing for us to talk about. Um, First of all, I need to talk about my Cleveland connection. My summers were spent in Cleveland, Ohio. My grandparents on my mother's side lived there. In fact, my grandmother taught Arsenio Hall
Oh, wow.
when he was a youth at Charles Dickens Elementary School. And my grandmother attended St. Mark's United Presbyterian Church in Wade Park when it was there. It's now moved out to Solon, Ohio. Um, so I've got Cleveland connections.
Well, welcome, welcome. We're so glad that you are here. And we're looking forward to just hearing your impact, your influence, as we have this conversation. And then I also want to just welcome Mr. Carlton Fellows. We want to thank you for being here. And Carlton has over 40 years of experience serving as minister of music, as well as, vocalist, actor, singer, songwriter, not only in the church, but in television and variety of choirs. And so we're grateful to have you here. And will you just share a few more things about yourself tonight. And then I'm going to go back to the question that I asked.
Well, I am so very, very glad to be here. And thank you so much, Sister Vivian, for inviting me to be a part of this. It is so very much needed. And it is a blessing that we can come on and just give uh, history and let people know the importance of Black music in our churches. I have been in uh, Christian music all of my life, from 5 years old. Uh, I grew up at the Greater Abyssinia Baptist Church in Cleveland, Ohio, and I started singing there as a little boy. I've always loved music. It has been a part of me. I have always wanted to play the piano, and it was just something about the music that just did something for me as a little kid. And I grew up in it. My grandparents raised me, and they put me through music school and gave me the lessons and allowed me to be a part of so many different musical organizations from a child growing up. And I sang all through school, high school, went on to college, and have been fortunate to work in music ministry for these past 40 plus years, serving in various churches around the Northeast Ohio area. And I've just been blessed, and I'm grateful to God. I wouldn't trade it in for nothing in the world. And I say to any uh, person, a young person coming up, if you feel that leading of the Lord in this area, come on and just let God use you.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for that insight and encouragement. And I want to jump back. I asked a question to Reverend Mark, and I want to ask each of you this same question. We'll start with you, Mr. Carlton. What is the impact that the music has had on you, the music of the church and music in general? But what has that music had? How has it had an impact on you personally?
Well, I knew at a very early age that I had, I was prone to singing. And I, I bought all the gospel albums and uh, sacred music. I had just a library, I guess you would say, even as a child, of sacred music, gospel music, and it just made me want to learn more and more and more. And there's something about the Black church musical experience. You won't find it anywhere. It cannot be beat. It cannot be beat. It is a wonderful uh, gift that God has bestowed upon us, uh, and I take it seriously. I don't. It's nothing to play with. Uh, and every time I get an opportunity to stand before the people of God and to lift my voice in song, in worship and praise to Him, I give it all I got, because that's where it is for me. That's where it is for me.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that is such a well, I would hope that's a universal feeling, you know, just the impact of it. Mr. Ronald, will you tell me also again what has the how has the music of the church impacted you personally?
Oh, it's a loaded question. Um, from my musical background, especially on my mother's side, I come from a musical background. My uncle was a professional musician. Mother's side of the family were all musicians, one way or the other, either professional or amateur. Um, so I guess it was sort of in my DNA to become a musician, even though my mother especially did not want me to become a musician. But she realized the error of her ways, and I became a musician. My degree is from Westminster Choir College, Princeton, New Jersey. My degree, my initial degree, my bachelor's degree is in church music. The term of minister of music comes from Westminster Choir College, i.e., John Finley Williamson, because he had what was called the Westminster Plan.
Mm-hmm.
And the Westminster Plan was a curriculum of studies that he started in the basement of Westminster Presbyterian Church in Dayton, Ohio.
Mm.
And when people got used to the term minister of music, it's like, well, that came from us, that came from Westminster. Um, Folks like Dorothy Maynard came from Westminster, even though her first degree is from Hampton, but she came to Westminster to become famous. Um, so the Black church influence has been with me, oh God, before I was born, it was there. Um, Growing up fourth generation Presbyterian, don't hold that against me. Um, yeah, we're frozen chosen. However, luckily we had Baptists and Methodists and others among us. So yeah, I mean, okay, during the offertory anthem, we would sing something classical, but before the sermon, we would do something Thomas Dorsey, or from the oh, what's the green hymnal? I'm blanking out. Tabernacle hymns,
Mhm.
um, something like that. And so again, I learned the mixture between the classical side and the gospel side. So I had the best of both worlds growing up. So what I love about Black church music is it's visceral. It hits you in your soul. It hits you in your guts. It hits you in your heart. And as the previous speaker said, it's a sound and an experience that you can't explain. When you hear it, you know it. It's there. It hits you.
Yeah. Yes. And I appreciate your the what mixture that you're talking about, the Presbyterian and the Westminster because and then you mentioned hymns because hymns they cross over every denomination. You might get a different
Correct.
feel of it, but the hymn is the hymn. Holy, holy, holy
Mm-hmm.
is holy, holy, holy,
There you go.
regardless of who sings it.
Right.
Right.
You might get a different version of it, but it's the lyrics and the doctrine are still the same.
That.
Um, so Reverend Mark, tell us about the impact of that music. I see you when he said, from the womb, I saw you testify.
So yeah, I testify because so much of that is a shared experience in the fact that I was raised in the Baptist church, Baptist tradition, but by virtue of being in my parents' bookstore, mom dealt with every denomination. So I would hear music from the Presbyterian church, from people from St. Mark's would come by. I would hear music from all the Baptist churches, and then we'd get things from the Pentecostal and Church of God in Christ. And even on occasion, we would have one of the priests come through, and we'd have something from the Catholic Church. And one of the things that we always have to keep mindful of, all of us are working with the same 12 notes. And so it's just how those notes are taken and structured and placed together, and then how it comes out of us individually and collectively. And so I always wanted it to come out of me in a playing form, but I never quite got to that playing point. Mom wanted me to play, and I tried, and it's like, yeah, that's not me. But I was able to sing it a little bit better than I could play it. Um, but Dr. Sterling Glover, who's a longtime pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church here in Cleveland, had a saying that always stuck with me, and that is, when it is done correctly, there is nothing like worship in the Black church. And that includes every one of our musical traditions because there's a richness that comes out of common experience that touches the soul. And I have to sneak in a quick story here because I have this scarf on because of Carlton Fellows. We were 30 years ago, maybe 40, um, in after a concert at some church or somewhere in the middle of summertime, and Carlton had done a solo, and he wrapped his neck up in the scarf. And people were giving him some grief about, it's 90 degrees outside. Why are you wearing a scarf? And he said, "This is my instrument, and I take care of my instrument." And then he looked over at me because I talk for a living. He says, "And Mark, you should too." And I've worn a scarf.
Love it. I love it. I love it. It's funny you say that because I live in Georgia and, we have a lot of pollen down here and the weather can be, it's cold and then it's hot and then it's cold and it's hot. And people make fun of me a lot because I keep a hat, I keep a scarf, I keep something
Yeah.
wrapped around me.
Yep.
And when I tell you they give me
Oh,
the
yeah.
blues, and I'm like, that's okay, because you don't sing.
Right.
And when you want somebody to sing, you're gonna look at me, and if I'm off, it's gonna
Right.
be a
Right.
situation.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yes,
indeed.
yes, I love it. Well, I just want you guys to know that we have a good number of people in the room with us who are watching and who are just giving kudos, and our Michael Keith Jester. Most of you probably know who he is.
Oh,
Those of you in Cleveland, and so he's on the line, and so we appreciate you. He was in our very first interview and conversation, and so we're grateful for him. Appreciate you, brother, for being on the line and for your encouragement. And so I want to ask you all this question as we move forward. We've talked about the personal impact, and you guys have all said that it's something that really touches you from the inside. It's an internal moment that happens when it comes to this music. What do you think is the impact that the music of the church has in the secular world? Because
Mm.
oftentimes you hear everybody's thanking God, but everybody is like, who are your influences? The Clark sisters, the Hawkins, Andrew Crouch. These are names that come up in the secular world as influences. And so talk to me a little bit about that influence. I want to start with you, Mr. Carlton. You have been all over everywhere and done all the things. And so in those worlds and in those rooms, what is that impact like? How is it different from this impact that we feel from what we've experienced, or is it the same? Can you talk a little bit about that?
well, I will say that I have been fortunate to work in some of the different genres uh, in Black music. And I must say, I have every person, every atmosphere that I've ever been in, whether it was in the church realm or not, in Black music, the church influence is there because most folk have come through the church. They've come out of the church. Uh, a lot of your secular singers, they they were raised up in church
Yeah.
and they went off into the secular arena, um, maybe because they felt it was an easier way to live by it and make a living by it. But when you really talk to them, they are deeply intrinsically influenced by the church, and it is in them and they respect it.
Wow.
Now, those of us are who have, I would say, stayed in gospel or stayed in sacred music and never went off into a full-time career of a secular side. um, we it's important that what we display or show forth in our music presentations, in what we say, in what we give out to people. It's important that wherever we go, in whatever atmosphere that we're in, that the people can see that what we're singing about is really a part of us. It's really who we are.
Yeah.
That is important. And I have been very on point about that. That's very important to me. I respect all artists. There are some secular artists that I just simply love. I enjoy their music. I go to see them whenever I get a chance, when they come in town to do a concert or whatever. And like I said, some of them I've even been on stage with. But they understand that we are singing about Jesus. We are proclaiming the name of Jesus, and they are looking for that exclamation that we give out verbally and musically to be what we walk in. And that's the very important
Yes, sir.
thing. Very
Sir.
important.
Wow. Okay. This is so important. I mean, to consider that what you're saying is that the people in this secular world are watching so closely to ensure that who we say we are as believers, as musicians in the church, is who we really are. Part of the conversation that we've had over the weeks is that the music is an example of our faith. It tells of our faith.
Yeah.
And I hear you saying that it's so important that we don't lose sight of that as we are doing the work of ministry, as we are doing the work of playing and singing, that we don't forget why we're singing, who we're singing to. That's so important. I mean, and I don't want us to gloss over that. And those of you who are listening, I want you to make sure that you get that no matter what genre of music you might be participating in, when it comes to the church, there's a expectation, maybe there is a responsibility, let's say that, to be who we say we are, to be who we say we are. Come on, Reverend Mark, I want you to talk about it. I want you to talk about it. What is it? What is this? The impact that the music has on the rest of the world. How does it show up? What is your experience when it comes to that?
Well, stacking on top of what Brother Carlton has just said, part of what the secular industry for years, and it's slightly different now, and I'll address that later, but for years, part of what the secular industry looked to the Black church for and the Black gospel artists in respect for was that there was an expectation of excellence.
Mm.
That expectation of excellence came because folks would rehearse the mess out of us because of who we're singing for and who we're singing to. So we are ministering as unto the Lord. So when you hear stories about that choir director who would toss a shoe across when you didn't get the note right, it wasn't just mean. It was an expectation. We are going to do this and we're going to do it with excellence, to the point where um, secular artists, there were those who crossed over from the Christian realm, from the gospel realm into secular music, and then there were those who started out singing in church and wound up in a secular group. But there was always that look back just for one particular example, because I was listening to a podcast recently about how Boys to Men and several groups, male groups of the late 80s and early to mid 1990s, they looked to commission. They looked to the Winans because those harmonies were pure, they were tight. This is who they wanted to emulate. The lyrics were different, but they were looking to this gospel world because of the excellence that was brought forward there. Now, and then when my toes dipped over into the jazz world, as a jazz radio DJ, a lot of the performers that I ran into, as Brother Carlton alluded to, I'm running into people who I grew up in the church, and this is my career, but I still love the Lord. I still serve the Lord, uh, ministering in the gospel song in the midst of their concert. I remember the first time Oleta Adams played Cleveland, and she played at Playhouse Square. And it was around the time within a year or so of Kirk Franklin's first album. So she did, the beginning of her set, she got about halfway through the set, and she stopped and started to give a testimony. And then she sang The Reason Why We Sing. And you could see like half of the audience was like, huh? We ain't come to hear this. And then the other half of the audience was like, yeah, yeah. Now, the shift that I see right now comes from the standpoint of we're not seeing as many artists who are coming out of the church anymore. We're seeing a lot more secular artists because of how our society is. We are becoming a non-church society. And as we become more of a non-church society, we begin to see more artists who, my granny and them played such and such on the stereo, but we weren't really there. Is there suffering for that in artistry? I don't know, but there is a shift that has to be addressed.
Okay, because you went ahead and answered the question I was definitely coming back with, which was, is this shift representative? You talked about the excellence that comes out of the church, and so then it made put a demand on the secular world. So then now when we look at the secular world, is that representative? And so I appreciate you saying, it's not as many people coming out of the church as they used to, it because the church used to be the center of our community.
Yeah.
And it's not as much anymore. So
and those of us who have that ear, you know how we do. I think I can speak for everybody I see on the screen, is that in listening, we still have an ear where you can listen and say, oh, she grew up in church.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yes.
For sure. So Mr. Ronald, talk to us a little bit more about that, just how the music of the church influences the music of the world, and where you see that kind of shift taking place, and how it's taking place.
Well, I want to look at a bigger picture.
Okay.
How does the music of Black America influence the world? It's not just church music. It's like everything and anything that we do. We sort of set the tone, we set the trend, we set the pace. Okay, let's just suppose this, for example. 3 artists, Mahalia Jackson, Sarah Vaughan, Leon King Price. All 3 artists have crossed over, in my opinion, to the bigger world. Right. In other words, they grew up as part of our world, the Black church world, but through their artistry, they went past, they grew past it.
Transcendent,
exactly, and became worldwide.
Aretha.
Lisa, oh my gosh! The best example we got, Billy Preston, another example.
Billy Preston.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many artists that we have that started in church. James Brown. I mean, we can keep going. That started in church music, and they grew.
Right.
And granted, okay, some of them went secular completely, and it's like, okay, fine, we get it. Because you gotta sell records, you gotta make money, you gotta pay
Yeah.
bills. I get it. But at the same time, though, there's those who went secular but came back sacred and then sort of went back out into it again. It's just a thing that has happened in Black society for years. But we set the trend, in my opinion, to the rest of the world about musical influences, fashion, what have you. We do it, but in my opinion, we don't get the credit for it.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's
Yes, sir.
that's a whole nother podcast. Just the fact that so much comes out of the Black community when it comes to, as you say, setting trends and setting standards. And wow. I don't want to stop what you're saying. Do you have more you want to say about this? Come on and
Go
say
ahead.
it.
I'm good.
You should. I don't want to. I want you to have your say when it comes to this. This is such a great conversation. And I want to just take a pause for the cause and say, thank you to everyone who's coming through and who's joining in the conversation. Of course, Thomas McIntyre is here, and we're grateful for that. And Mr. Lawrence Drummer is also keeping watch over us. And so these are amazing men who have been a part of the conversation and just have enjoyed what we've been talking about when it comes to music, the Black church, and the influence and the sound. Let's talk about the sound that needs to come from the church. Let's talk about that. Okay, Mr. Carlton, what is the sound? We've talked about how influential the church is in our world. We talked about how influential the Black culture is for our world and how in the past the church has been the epicenter. So when we think about moving forward, what is the sound that needs to come out of the church?
Well, the sound. Okay, well, let me kind of go here a little bit. I don't, and then you can tell me because I'm looking at that word sound in a couple of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But because the Black church has been the focal point, and like Brother Mark said, we're in a different era now, and the church is not necessarily the main focal point like it was in years past.
Jesus.
But I do feel that sound that we come with, there needs to be something that sets us apart from what people can hear any time of the day. If they go to any club or any place else, there needs to be sound that comes from what we do, needs to be a sound that pulls things together, that puts people in a mindset of getting themselves and their lives together.
Yeah.
Their countenance, their mindset together. That to me is our responsibility when you say sound. And I know you're speaking musically, but I'm speaking musically, and also that music needs to drive, it needs to pinpoint, it needs to point the society to the saving grace of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I don't care, and I understand that we have all different styles of music, all different styles of sacred music, all different styles of church music is out there. And I'm not against any of it. But when we put it out, when we come with it, it's got to be a definite uh, direction to the saving grace
Yeah.
of Jesus Christ. Because if that's not it, then it's confusing and people are wandering and there's no direction being given. That's our place as the Black church. That sound, we need to have a sound that will point people and point society to the saving grace of Jesus Christ. I don't care if you want to take it like what Edwin Hawkins did when he came out in 1967 with that whole "Oh Happy Day" album. That was something that we had not heard. It was totally different from anything that we had experienced in the Black church as far as gospel music. But even though it was a different sound, his music was very much on point. You knew what he was talking about, and the definition, the message was unmistakable. He was talking about the saving grace of Jesus Christ, and that's what we have to do. That's the obligation of what we as ministers of music and worshipers are called in this time to do, to point people in our music, through our music, to Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes. Okay, come on, Mr. Ronald. Add your response when it comes to that. What is it that you want to add to that same question?
This is a loaded question. Um, Probably you all saw the special that Skip Gates did on gospel music. And I'm thankful that he did it because it's something that should have been done years ago, in my opinion. And okay, granted, if one of us edited it, we would have done it differently. But I'm thankful for the exposure because if you can get people exposed to the history of gospel music, the trends, where it's gone, where it's going, half the battle is done right there. Exposure is what's needed. Now, as far as where is it going right now, I don't know. I can't give you an answer to that. I was born in 1963. I'm sort of the end of the baby boomer generation. So album like "Oh Happy Day," I was influenced by that. Edwin Hawkins, oh my gosh! I mean, it's like that was like seismic because that was like an earthquake for um older folks. It's like, oh my gosh! It's like, what is this new sound? Because it's like it's not
Yeah.
Thomas Dorsey. This is like, whoa! It's not even James Cleveland.
Yeah.
This is like something completely different. I mean, now it's considered old, it's considered classical, but back when it came out, oh, it changed everything.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, church music, like church worship, changes. Worship styles change, liturgy styles change over decades, over years, over centuries. This is something that the Black church has dealt with from the beginning until now, and it'll just keep doing it until.
Very good. Very good. Okay, Reverend Mark, what are your thoughts?
Um, I'm right on line with these other two brothers, and particularly because I'm within a year of Brother Ronald. I remember that seismic shift of "Oh Happy Day," followed closely by sounds from Myrna Summers, followed closely by sounds from Timothy Wright, and on and on and on, as the music, gospel music, morphed again into something different. And then the next shifts that came along with the rise of Andre Crouch and Walter Hawkins, and then into the Winans Commission, Witness, the women's groups. But to go back to what Carlton said, there was a message.
Mhm.
There was always a message, even, and I point to John P. Key, when it was feel good music.
Mm.
So there was that. John P. Key is a genius at writing a hook and a vamp that would just make you want to sing it all day long. And it's feel good music. It makes you want to bump around, but there's still a message to it. My fear for right now is that a good portion of what I hear is feel good music without a message. Now, you can have both or one or the other, but the responsibility of the Black church and Black music as we foster generations going forward is to be able to marry the message to the feeling. If we're just on the feeling, then you're just bumping. You might as well be bumping to whatever music in the club. But we always have to, and I feel our generations have a responsibility to, not in a heavy-handed way, but in the most loving way possible, to say, what is this song really about? What are you really saying here, and who are you saying it to?
Wow. 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 Vivian, would you like to chime in here? You got to unmute yourself.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
I was trying to unmute myself. It's a little bit hard for me to contain myself sometimes as I'm listening to the comments. A couple of things, a little more than a couple, that I want to address, but I won't address all of them. The shift that Pastor Mark was talking about, in that we've gotten away from some things. There is a shift occurring. You were talking about not many artists are coming out of the church. They don't have that church influence in what they're doing in secular music right now. That's concerning me. And it also takes me back to, Tanysha, you mentioned community, in that when I received this challenge to write this book, of course, I'm like, what do I know? What do I know? Two things I know. I know God and I know music. Those are two things that I know. Uh, so I put those things together and I started thinking. And the title of the book is I Couldn't Hear Nobody Pray, Sounds of the Black Church from Years Gone By. Tanisha asked, what are the sounds that we're missing now? When we started this discussion, it was because when I got to the music, when I got to the music sound of the Black church, I'm like, oh my God, there's so much to that. There's so much to that. But it started with sounds like, what's the sound coming from the pulpit? What's the message? What's the sound of baptism? When I got baptized, we went out in the pond. The deacons had the sticks to chase the snakes away. There was a sound of community, the sound of children reciting and giving their first oratory deliverance in the church. There's so many sounds that we've gotten away from now, and that's what started this. And my heart is just overflowing. You guys have said a lot, but you haven't said near. We've only scratched the surface of what needs to be discussed. And I won't take any more time. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Well, we're so grateful, first of all, for you as a visionary and having the just being willing to step out and being willing to host these conversations and to draw people back to the place where we first found him. And in a lot of ways, we first, some of us first found him, in the little choirs and at our churches, and that's where we found him. And I think I was telling you that I was 5. My mom wouldn't let me sing before I was 5. When I was 5, when I was finally allowed to get in the choir, and I was super excited, and I haven't left. I haven't left, the music department. It has a influence in who I am. And when I hear God, I hear him in these different songs. When he says something to me, if I ask a question, and then I will hear a song that answers the question. And people are looking to hear the voice of God, and they're looking for it to be something super deep, but he's oftentimes created a song that's already have the answer, and you ride down the street, listen to the radio, and that song comes on and gives you the answer that you're looking for. And so I'm grateful for this platform and this opportunity. We have talked for almost an hour, guys. I know it seems like 5 minutes, but we're going to get ready to close out. And as we do, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you for sharing your insights, sharing your expertise, sharing your experiences, your journey. We appreciate you. We appreciate each and every one of you. I want to thank those of you who have watched online, those of you who come back on a regular basis. We appreciate you. And so I would like to give each of you an opportunity to share how people can connect with you, and then any closing remarks that you would like to give about this conversation, about music, about the church, whatever you would like to close out by saying. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes, but most and very importantly, share how people can get connected with you. And let's start with Reverend Mark.
Okay. Once again, thank you, Sister Vivian. I'm honored for the opportunity. I am so glad to see your book come to fruition and wish you nothing but success, that many eyes would be able to read and many hearts would see how much that you've poured out into that and what the Lord is doing through it. I can be reached at Avon Avenue Baptist Church over on the southeast side of Cleveland, in the Union Miles area. You can email me, jazzpreacher@gmail.com, just like it sounds, jazzpreacher@gmail.com, or find me on Facebook at Mark David Ribbins. Um, Glad to be here with these two fine brothers as well. God bless you both.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ronald. You do the same. Tell us how we can reach you.
Well, first of all, thank you both for hosting this. And to my fellow panelists as well, thank you as well. My wife, by the way, is a music therapist.
Wow.
So I married a musician. We're both poor, but we love each other, so doesn't matter. How can you reach me? Facebook, Ronald George Baltimore. I work at 2 places, St. Luke's Episcopal Church in Montclair, SLEchurch.org. That's our website there. I'm also the organist, High Holiday Choir Director at Temple Shalom West Essex in Cedar Grove, New Jersey. So God and I meet each other Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So the weekend's all with God, basically. If you want to email me, rbaltimo@yahoo.com. Ladies, remind me, I want to send you all something as well too, which you may want to, have in your archives as well too.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. We're so grateful to have you. Mr. Carlton, tell us how we can reach you and also, any closing remarks that you have. I can't hear you. Oh, you're muted, sir. Hold on, let me see.
Can you hear me?
There you are. There you are.
Oh.
Yep.
I have watched on a couple of occasions this broadcast. It is just simply marvelous. Please keep doing it because it is so much needed. And I'm glad that you thought enough of me to include me in it. You can reach me at northcoastarts05@gmail.com. I will spell it because sometimes people get it mixed up. NORTHCOASTARTS as in Sam 05@gmail.com. You can also reach me at 216-253-5250. And I am music director at the St. Peter's AME Zion Church. And again, thank you. And please keep doing this because young people, and prayerfully, more and more young people will tune in, and hear the depth of what they're doing, understand the depth of what we're doing and the importance of it.
Amen. Amen. Thank you all so much for being here again. Those of you who have joined us, there is a link in the video where you can grab the book, you can email these gentlemen and connect with them. And we are going to be hosting this conversation again on March 24th. 7 p.m. Eastern. And so we also are bringing the next generation in, and so we're trying to grab them and bring them into the conversation as well. It is very important and necessary. And so
Wonderful.
also, if you have someone you would like to recommend or you would like to be a part of the conversation, you can inbox Vivian Carroll, and you can send an email. Tell us what email you would want them. So if people on YouTube were to see this, what email would you want them to contact?
Carol,
Say it again.
You hear me? Carol, Carroll, Vivian, Vivian A 28 at gmail.com. You can, all of my contact information, I think, is on my Facebook page. On my Facebook page, I think all of my contact information is there. But I do want, Tanysha, you have again done an amazing job in moderating this conversation again. My daughter-in-law is so gifted and talented. I need you to share your information about some of the things that you do and how people can get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, you can get in touch with me by going to my website, which is TanyshaWCarroll.com. It's Tanysha with the Y, TanyshaWCarroll.com. And there I am helping people to publish their own books, and also hosting some coaching for moms of tween daughters. Also, I am a worship leader. So anything that you would like to, you can contact me there. You can also email me at I'mOnAssignment@gmail.com. And thank you, thank you. I am honored to be a part and to support this very important mission. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. And we are looking forward to being with you again on the 24th. And we're gonna keep having these conversations for several more months. And hopefully maybe by the fall we'll be having some in-person events. And so thank you for being here. God bless you and have a great night.